You're the one that ran through and skittered it everywhere. Let's see if there's anybody out there. I think we can move closer. Probably. Working on it. Hey, pissed off Marine. Haven't seen you on it for a while. We're in the middle of procrastinating over his food. Oh, it's all of it you got in there. You need a cricket? Now you're spoiled because you have all the different kinds of food? I'm just going to take that at face value. That's cool. I loved construction. But a Benihana's, I'm not sure if it's a joke or serious. You must comply. It's time to eat, Reptar. It would just be easier on everybody. You have fresh freeze-dried mealworms, fresh freeze-dried crickets. The crickets were even vegan. I know. I see you can open your mouth. I believe you. Uh, it's just, I don't know why. It's like I've never remember in the news anything bad about Benihana's. It's like, just seems like an older, dated name. Oh, restaurants are cool. I worked in them. There he is. El Chapo. With his crunch, 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 walking on the frozen snow. It's in the 40s, almost 50 here right now. Sun's out. It's crazy. Yeah, expensive usually means better. You're just gonna stand there, ain't you? I screwed him up and left the lights off. I slept during the daytime. For the past 2 days, he's a little out of sync. I don't have the lights on timers. It's just another thing that can short out. Some of the funnest construction we did was in the winter. We would do Michigan vacation homes. They were prefabs. We'd put down a crawl space or basement and floor, and then they'd wheel in two semis, all the house in pieces. And then in the summer, we would build a house and remodel other houses while we were doing it. It's fun learning all that stuff when you're still like 13 years old. No child labor laws in my family. I know it's not the camera. You're in front of the camera all the time. Oh, he's got some freeze dried mealworms and freeze dried crickets and turtle food. Don't tell him though. I'm not sure if it would upset him. See, it's turtle food, and I'm not sure what kind of turtles they make it out of. Hey, pugnacious one. Haha. We start the feast. See how he's mature now? That beard sticks out all the way down his side. Sticks that tongue out. I should see if I can. Oh, you get more reflection that way, but he's hiding his din din. Yeah, it was all in the tray yesterday. He came over and scraped it all out, threw it everywhere. I guess he's going to eat today. Once it warms up, Pugs, I hope you do your music up by a campfire. It's kind of guitar playing I remember when they sit around at night and there's nothing else to make noise out in the country. I have some friends that played in the Irish rock band. They between the two of them, they played 7 different instruments. And they get together, and a couple other people would show up, and they would just play It was amazing. One would play like what they, I don't know, they call riffs or whatever, would play a beginning, and they'd all jump in and play their like unwritten music. It was just really entertaining because I have no talent in that respect. My first wife was a very good singer and sang for the opening of the Tiger Stadium and different things, and she just looked at me and say, "You can't even breathe. How are you ever going to sing? You have to know how to breathe." What are you doing? You got food everywhere in here. I have to clean it up. Well, thanks for the likes. I'm sure that'll mean more people get my notifications. Hey, SNS. Missouri, huh? I was going to look at the temp too, never did. Oh, cold. 39, sunny in Michigan. The lake still has a crispness to it, though. The river's a little bit high. But the snow's gone until it comes back. We only had the park only plowed the streets twice this winter. So, I'm not going to complain about global warming. It's worked out well for me. I guess nobody ever stopped to think that maybe people wanted it to warm up a little bit. Don't chew with your mouth open. Yeah, the coronavirus is just a natural thing that happens when you stick a bunch of people into a really tight area with bad plumbing and bad water. What I don't get is that nobody's jumping up and down about the flu. Nobody gives it a second thought. Just as contagious, way more widespread. I mean, the flu is not what it is. It's a version of a cold virus. Well, the only panic I've seen is the stock market, which these are people that speculate on somebody else doing a good or bad job to begin with. So I don't really count on them being terrified. If they got their money out there, the only thing they're interested in is, can I make money or lose money? They don't care about people dying or anything along that lines. So I hate to use that as a judge for how things are going. But I would like to create my own conspiracy theory in that China intentionally created the virus to get rid of old people. And I'm not sure which Democratic or Republican out there that's working with them, but I think they want to get rid of that older generation. Maybe it's AOC working with China, kill off all them old politicians. So I get to create my own conspiracy theories, I guess. Hey, I'm only 59, so I'm golden. I'm under the age. It's a payback for when on January 1st, the law changed from drinking age of 18 to 19, and on January 14th, I turned 18. And not that that was bad enough. The next year, when I turned 19 on January 14th, 14 days earlier, the law had changed to 21. So this is payback. And coronavirus only kills people over 60 years, mostly this. I'm only 59, so I'm golden. Not only that, I don't circulate out in public, so unless there's a Corona beer in the fridge, I'm golden. I did actually notice one thing when I went through to pick up my 50 tabs of ibuprofen that I usually get every other month. The whole shelf area for, I mean, I'm talking hundreds of bottles, which were normally there, were gone. I really only had a choice of like one bottle of easy open 200 tabs, or I had to go into like the multi pig packs. So that I did notice, but that actually, that's the reality of it. We pushed all the jobs to China. We put everything in China, and now China doesn't like us. They never liked us. So the things that we need from China, they're going to say, yeah, like the masks, where they said, yeah, you're an American company in China and you're shipping them to America, but guess what? They're ours now. I mean, nationalism was a bad word 6 months ago. I don't think it's a bad word anymore. All of a sudden, yeah, I mean, we should make some of this important stuff in America. No more globalism. That's that tanked. The sickest I've ever been was the one time I got a flu shot when I was like 13, and I thought I was going to die. And I've had a few days of fever, but I don't normally get sick. I mean, I'm kind of warm blooded, and I live in Michigan, and I worked in the factory that I went outside 20 times a day because of my job, and I wore shorts and a muscle shirt year round. So I'm not a good test of it. I grew up 6 years old out on Lake Michigan in the winter. That's cold. I mean, when you can feel the wind touch your bones. But even then, we adapted. We put a shanty out on the ice, put a lantern in it, insulated it with styrofoam insulation, and you're sitting out there. It's 10 below zero with a 50-mile-an-hour wind, and it's 90 degrees in the shanty. You have to open the door. You've taken off your snowsuit. You're down to your t-shirt. Your pants are rolled up. You're barefoot, and it's so cold outside. We adapt, and you're just chowing away. Clean as much of it up because I got to clean the rest of it up for you, and I'm not that hungry. I'll try and get you back on the schedule with me sleeping at night again. Rough tired, but it's getting hard. Num num num. He's got that frog tongue, but he doesn't extend it very far. Oh, I actually have had heat exhaustion a half a dozen times. 80 is my max. I better have a breeze. My house is set at 60 degrees inside, and I'm only a week away from having the windows open. And the only reason they weren't open all winter is because of that lizard there. He doesn't like 40 degrees. But this room's warm. It's got the TV, the computer, the heat lamp, the light, the hot water heater's in the closet. I'm in here. So this particular room is almost 68 with the door cracked open in the winter. Right now it's perfect perch weather too. Oh, they do nice charters out into Lake Michigan for jumbo perch. And they get them along the piers. They even have a really nice one company does it, or two have charters that are in Spring Lake itself on pontoon boats. Which as much as it costs to own a boat, it's like putting a hole in the water and just shoveling money in. People fish from shore, they throw out as far as they can possibly throw. People who fish from boat throw right up as close to shore as they can throw. So the bullheads, oh, those are so tasty if you fry them. Oh man, we'd sit on along the bridges at night with lanterns and fish them. Big old sinker and huge hooks and gobs of crawlers. Come home and have a wash tub full of them, and they don't die, so you can wait till the next day to clean them in the morning. That was always the way we handled bullheads. They are tasty, especially in the spring when you still got the ice cold water. The firmer meat. We always put our fish in salt water. Fish. Dad looked at me when I was a kid. He said, "That fish meat there never gets wet, even though it lives in the water." But the salt water pulls the blood out, firms the meat up a little bit, and makes it a lot tastier. And Grandpa, he'd have his particular board and the nail and the hammer and the little club, and he'd club them, and then he'd nail their head to the so he didn't get stung. And meanwhile, all us little 6-year-old kids, we grab them right out of the water and carry them over to him. Here you go, Grandpa. Here's another one. Put it down. And take the nail and pound the head into the wood. We never got stung. I had to pull my little brother out of it a couple times. He'd get right in the wash tub with him. Yeah, pan fried. I don't deep fry them. Those are good flour and butter and a little salt and pepper fried. You don't even need crumbs. They got a nice delicate flavor. Yes, definitely cast iron. Now we fried our salmon and trout in nice chunks that were in an electric skillet. My mom would it, you cut it in lengths and they got kind of like square flat on all four sides. So she would flip it and flip it and flip it and flip it. And she had a secret of first you flour it, then you egg and milk it, then you put it in Ritz crackers, and then the flour separates from the fish from the breading as soon as the fish is actually done. When it stops going cooking moisture out to moisture being drawn in, the flour gets wet, and it's so she had her little trick to always make sure it was done. But yeah, we had a huge family size electric skillet, and she'd fry 3 skilletfuls of fish for supper. Oh man, you hear lots of things, you Canadian. Stop! I'm getting hungry. They actually got some nice bullheads in the river that are right by the mouth of Lake Michigan that you can go sit on the bridge and catch well steelhead or salmon when they're running because they run right under the bridge, or you can catch bullheads and gills and perch, all nice eating size. We'll have to do that this spring. I'm trying to keep my grandson getting hooked on bass fishing. You don't eat bass. I don't know why we're flickering, but well, there's some lakes up north that we would fish for them. Just have a campfire on the side of the lake at night, and you can also fish the rivers. We tried the Betsy a couple of times. You get some nice holes, and they'll hold a scant 2 dozen of them, maybe. You know, he's referring to the Lower Peninsula, which is all of the real Michigan. He's up in the Canadian part of Michigan, where they just let us occupy it because it ain't worth nothing. That's where Ben lives. That's why he mentions me being a troll under the Mackinac Bridge. I've actually been under the bridge once when the charter off the lake or the island were 14-foot rollers with 30-mile-an-hour gusts, and they they went straight away from the other shoreline, and the wind pushed us all the way under the bridge. We almost didn't make the corner. Water pouring in over the top open deck, down the stairs, people freaking out. Waves so high you could look out both sides of the ferry and only see water. My lovely wife, who needed to take a pill for motion sickness, left her pills in the glove box of the car. So that was an interesting trip for her. Put her head on my lap and just cried. And that's the only time I've been under the bridge. But I'll take the compliment. Anything to be a not be a youper. Well, look on the map. Michigan ends at the water's edge, and then there's Canada. I don't know why they call it Upper Peninsula. I have never been there, Ben, but I'm going to have to get there, I guess, if that's what you're saying. I'm a West Coast Michigan guy, all up and down the West Coast, all the way up to the bridge. I think the last night I spent on one of the festivals, I was on the shoreline, on the beach, looking across to Canada. But I have been in Canada. My high school senior trip was to Stratford, Canada for the festival. I went swimming in water that was 46 degrees. I threw water balloons at the bobbies because I didn't have a squirt gun like the other guys. Canada was a fun time. I lived in Arcadia, Michigan, right on the water. Um, I mean, right on the water. 12 feet outside the front, dropped straight down into Lake Michigan. We had the end of the road, it was a private road, and we had 30 steps to get down to the beach. And M22 Lookout Hill was, if you look straight up, so I could walk about 2.5 miles on Lake Michigan where nobody else could go. Well, Ben, simple people are entertained by simple things. I suppose you sat in your backyard and watched your grass grow. Yeah, I'm in Grand. I live in Grand Haven. I used to take my Jeeps when I had them up to Silver Lake and drive in Lake Michigan. Well, my mom lives in the housing unit right across from the street is Lake Michigan in Frankfort. Yeah, Gravity Hill was the Gravity Hill in which I don't know which one you're talking about. The one in Benzie County, I lived about 2.5 miles, 3 miles from. Just go there all the time. In fact, the last time I was up there, I took Nuck into it when she was here before she did me wrong. Pierport, no, I haven't been to that Gravity Hill. But the one just off of Mick Road by the church in Benzie County, I've actually took a transit to because we built houses, so we had our own transit, and we took it out there, my brother and I, and proved to ourselves that it's an optical illusion. Oh, I love trout, dude. I fished the Betsy, but then a little bit of the Platte, which is the clearest river there is that I've ever seen, but mostly the Betsy. And we turned out both rainbow and really nice steelhead, up to 16 pounds. Plus, we went out of Alberta up to Point Betsy with our trolling boat. We had a 17-foot wooden Starcraft, I think it was. Chris Craft something. It was all wooden and it was rotted when we got it. It was like 45 years old. We rebuilt the inside and the bottom and had a 75 horse Evinrude that wouldn't die. The thing was ancient. You're trying to learn fly casting? I'm trying to learn casting from a chair. Well, Michigan's got jumbo perch fishing. They almost could fish year round if you go 4 miles offshore. You can catch fish year round out in Lake Michigan. But we got the Grand River here in Grand Haven and Spring Lake and Lake Michigan. And if you turn in any other direction and spit, you'll probably hit another lake. Yeah, we were more of a catchers than fishermen. We didn't sport fish. We fished for quantity. So you went to take the largest numbers, the best eating. You fished when the fish were there. You managed your life around it. On good days, you got out. Bad days, you didn't get out. But I can remember running up and down the piers trying not to get washed off while we were fishing because the fish were just stacked up. I've been pulled down the river in hip boots till I was in water up to my neck. A 30-pound Chinook dragging me around, a little 140-pound kid trying to fight a fish. And yes, I did get it. I ended up throwing my pole on the shoreline with the bail open and running down and getting it in the shallow water where it ran itself into the gravel where the water was only half as deep as his body. And a salmon is real easy to tail. So you grab their tail, they just quit fighting. You can squeeze down with your finger and thumb and pick up a 35-pound Chinook and it just lays there. Oh, we're going to do magnet fishing? Now that I would like to try. That seems kind of cool. I'm not sure how you prepare magnets, whether you deep fry them or pan fry them, but ice fishing never worked out. I don't know. We tried boiling it, tried frying it. It just, there's nothing left to eat when you're done. Oh, smoked salmon. Salmon's about the only fish that I smoke with oak. I don't touch no other light white fish do I touch with oak. It's got to be maple, hickory, cherry. Try smoking a hardwood burl cherry aged. Smoking a salmon. It's like you dipped it in tart cherry juice when it comes out. It's so good. It's actually my chicken recipe, but it does a nice job on fish too. But salmon's real fatty. It's real oily. It can handle more things than your lighter trout and your pike. Yeah, I bastardized my barrel Brinkman and put blocks in between the racks, so I had 5 racks instead of 3. I'd melt a hole in the deck underneath it after the third time I smoked meat. I don't know. It's Come out, and the next day there's a hole under it, and there's like a circle where the 3 pieces of decking are gone. We had some wild apple trees down by the swamp, and I had 2-year-old aged hickory from Ohio, and I would go out and cut a limb off that old tree that had lichen, and I mean, it looked like it was old and rotted, but it still had a few apples would come on it. And I'd take that, chop it all up, put it on top of the hickory, and put it in the old refrigerator smoker. And you had to set 100 feet away. That thing just rolled smoke out of it. Yeah, I did that for a few. We had a hot and cold problem where the temperature in the water was just wouldn't hold that 1 degree warm enough to get the females to spawn. So I got 5 weeks of rainbow in the river, not spawning. And every day I had another set of fish to throw in the brine and throw the other one in the smoker and sit there until it was done and let it cool. And about the time it cooled, the people were driving past the highway, getting out of work, and go sit down, and $5 a chunk gave me enough whiskey, beer, and gas to get tomorrow's fishing in. Yeah, that was right after my first divorce, so I was kind of just fishing. No, it had 2 holes in it, but I fixed it because I just put a stop sign my son had stolen over the hole and set the thing on top of it. About 2 years later, I replaced the boards. Nobody even knew the hole was there but me. They just thought I had the stop sign under there. Actually, I stored my worms under there when it wasn't smoking. You get a nice set of worms in the spring, and you can grow worms all year long. Yeah, I like the hardwood fruits more than just the fruit trees, but they do. We did one thing. We would play poker on Texas Hold'em on Friday nights, and we would buy a pork loin, and we'd take a charcoal grill, and he'd bring the charcoal, and I'd bring all the wood chips, and I'd chip up a bunch of maple, and we'd throw that in there, and then he'd take a piece of like a 6-inch log of apple, and it was cut in like 4 or 5 inch high blocks, and you'd set a block in the middle, and you only put your charcoal on the one side, and then you line the chips up against that, and then you set that block in there in the wood once you got coals going, and the other side is open and there's no coals, and that's where you put the meat. And you let that go for about an hour, 45 minutes, then you flip the meat over and you rotate it around, and you go for another about 45 minutes. And oh my God, you got all these drunk guys playing poker, and you bring this piece of pork loin in, and it just gets devoured. Yeah, the mother of invention lives out in the country. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? I didn't move the camera, did I? I can't really see the screen, so. Yeah, see, he's going to be up there and digest for the rest of the day. And then around 7 o'clock, he'll climb up another 3 inches and close his eyes and sleep. And isn't going to come back down until it's time to eat. Yeah, we were snowmobilers. I had dirt bikes, but we had 600 acres of land, so it wasn't like we had to go somewhere to ride a bike. Some of those adventures were really cool, and you take several, 3 or 4 of us families together on snowmobiles. You got a dozen snowmobiles, and you stop by a creek and you go in, pull a nice salmon out of there that's been in there a little too long, probably, or trout. Chase them into shallow water, pull them out, clean them up, cook them over a fire. Oh man, it's like food is never as tasty as it is when you're out there and all the fresh air and the activity, and then the food is just fresh. All right, this troll's safe and tucked inside, and I'm all good because I'm only 59, so I don't have to worry about the virus. I don't drink Corona. We'll talk to y'all later. Reptar, y'all done? Yeah, I know. You're turning your one eyeball at a time. I can do that too. Freaks people out. Thanks for coming in, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll be back in another lizard eating vlog. And what do we say, Reptar? We gone.